Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Summer School. Today we're here. I always say this. Today we're here with a very special guest, but every guest is very special. Rita is a good one. I saw Rita. No, I found her Instagram, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, and I've been obsessed ever since, even though I'm a wedding photographer and she mostly does kind of fashion, editorial, kind of magazine looking images. I think we can pull so much inspiration from that as wedding photographers. And the look that she's getting, I've shown it to friends and they've been like, oh, is that film? What is she doing? That's so cool. It's mostly digital. I don't know if you shoot film, but anyways, I rambled so long. Biggest fan. So stoked to have Rita on. If you want to know about just really unique, creative flash work, kind of things kind of different than what, in my opinion, it is genuinely different than what I'm seeing in the photography space right now. I don't know what you're doing and how you're doing it, but you're a genius, and I'm so glad you're here. So, Rita, tell everyone a little bit about yourself, how you kind of came into this style, and also your journey. I'd love to know, I don't know this personally, how you got your start. I know you're pretty younger, right?
I don't know. How
I
old
don't
are
know.
you?
I don't know. Maybe we're like the same age. Actually, maybe you're not young at all. Maybe it's that. What is it? You're from Latvia, right? Maybe it's
Yeah,
just your genes. I'm 26. How old are you?
I'm also 26.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. So fun. Well, I know I've seen your reels where you talk about your journey, and it seemed fast of so much growth. But maybe that's just because you're that skilled that you learned so much so quickly.
Well, first of all, I am blushing right now because to hear these words from you, I know you said that you followed me. You don't exactly remember when, but I actually do remember.
Rita knows.
I know because it wasn't so long ago. It was probably maybe around 6 months to a year ago.
Oh.
And I remember that you followed me, and I was so stoked because you were one of the first photographers I found on Instagram when I started my
Mm,
photography journey. And I remember when I first started, and I think everyone kind of goes through that period of time where you think that you're going to be a couples photographer, a wedding photographer. So I was really aiming for that. I found you. I was like, I want to do the same kind of work as you.
mm.
And you probably didn't even know about my existence back then. So
You
like
are too
this
kind.
moment, it's just surreal, to be honest. I just wanted
And
to
now
get it
look
out
at
there.
you. You also have a class in summer school. Like we chat all the time now. This is so fun. And Rita, that means the world to me because genuinely your work is so good. I literally stalk you all the time now. So I'm obsessed.
Thank you.
But tell everyone, so you were interested in being a couples photographer. What led you to what you're doing now? How did this journey start?
Well, it started a little over 2 years ago. So, as you've mentioned, I'm originally from Latvia, and then 3 years ago, I moved to Norway with my boyfriend because he got a job offer here, and I
Mm,
didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I was like, "Let's go." Then we came here, and for those who have ever moved countries, I think it's very relatable that you don't have a lot of friends. You don't have,
mm,
in my case, I didn't have any hobbies. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I kind of always felt that I want to be a creative person, but I didn't
mm.
know like what I want to do. So I just bought a camera, and for the first time I really thought that I'm going to take like photos of the mountains and that I'm going to be like a Norway nature influencer or whatever.
I went through that
That
too.
yeah, that didn't really work out. Um, but then I think I just naturally started to take photos with my friends.
Mm,
And I think, like, for me, the most logical thing to do at the time was to take like couples photos and kind of like start experimenting with that. And I remember like I got my first, like this photo where people touch hands. And I was like so proud of that. I was like, I'm a real artist now. So that was really funny. Um, but then I started using photography as a cheat code to kind of getting friends here, because I knew that I really want to have like some Norwegian friends and meet cool people. And I was just messaging randomly a lot of people and offering
Hmm.
them to do shoots together. And through that, I connected with an agency signed model, and we became really good friends. And she kind of introduced me to the concept of test shoots and fashion
Yeah.
photography. And I think that's when I started learning a lot more about it. And I was like, oh, this seems like super cool. I can try and do something like similar. And that's how the journey started, I guess.
And now are you it doesn't matter whether you are or are not, but are you now like full-time fashion photographer?
I wouldn't, like, to be completely honest, I wouldn't say that I'm a 100% fashion photographer full
Yeah, tell
time.
me. Tell me what you would say you are.
Well, to be honest, I
How do you
don't really know.
describe?
I don't really know. I let people describe it for me, like most of the time,
Yeah.
because the thing with Norway is, and also I want to mention, I don't live in Oslo, which is capital of Norway. I live on a countryside, so
Wow.
there's not a lot of market for fashion photography here, basically. So I really try my best to kind of make my way to that through social media. But if we're talking about work, then I actually do like weddings on the side. I do engagement sessions on the side.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I always kind of try to, and that's interesting because I don't market it at all. And people
Yeah.
still come to me. And I think, and the thing that I like to hear the most from people who are coming to me is that, we want like a wedding, but we want it in an editorial style. And I'm like,
Mm.
you got it. You got it. We can
Yeah.
make it happen. So I think like I do a lot of different things that pay my bills, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I position myself as a fashion photographer in order for more of the opportunities to come to me.
Yeah. Well, I think at
Yeah.
the end of the day, you could be as a wedding photographer, if you're a wedding photographer listening to this, which is most people, but if you're not, that's cool too. I would love for anyone and everyone to listen. But if you're a wedding photographer listening, I think at the end of the day, yes, you can implement certain business things and probably be booked out for years to come as a wedding photographer, putting a ton of time into probably business marketing skills. But if your work is truly unique, people are going to come to you. Like, obviously you're putting in work into marketing, but it's not like you're getting on this venue's list and you're going to these wedding networking events. Like, Rita, you're booking even weddings as someone who probably doesn't even really care to shoot them because your work is truly that good. I think that's really cool, and people need to remember no matter how much work you put into your marketing, you still need to prioritize taking good photos.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I think it's also funny because, of course, like I share a lot of lessons I learn along the way and a lot of like tips and tricks on my social media. And naturally, a lot of photographers message me and
Mhm.
ask about how they can improve their photography. Not even how they can improve their photography, but how do they get more clients? And
Mm.
well, this may be not a nice thing to say, but it's very truthful. Sometimes I look at these photographers' profiles and I'm thinking to myself, you need to like take all of that energy that you're putting in trying to get clients and just level up your work
Mm.
a little bit, and
Yeah.
then market it away.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
very easy for photographers to slack on the investing in growing as a photographer because you get just good enough that you're making good money. So you're so excited. And then you forget to market yourself because you're so excited about all the money you're making, and you forget to level up your skills. And then you have no bookings and subpar work at the same time. I don't know. I think definitely there are photographers who fall into that boat. And I think it's hard to balance that line of doing both marketing and trying to improve your skill. But if obviously, if you're a really good artist and no one knows who you are, obviously, I guess no one can hire you. There's always that analogy. You could be living in your parents' basement, but if no one knows who you are, no one can hire you. But if you have literally standout work that no one else can get with anyone but you, people have no excuse but to book you. That's why I love your work, Rita. I don't see anyone's work that looks like Rita's. It truly looks different. And that is why I love it. I look at it and I'm like, how did she do that? And the fact that I cannot answer that question is why I like it. And probably why everyone else likes it and everyone wants to know how you're doing it. So I would love to veer this into telling people about your work and how you landed on this kind of style and image you've created for yourself. Kind of this lots of flash, lots of sunlight, lots of color. Tell us about, like, how'd you end up there? It truly, I don't see anyone else there, you know? Like, where did this come from?
But that's so interesting because, and people tell me that all the time. Well, not all the time, sometimes. But I don't know. For me, I don't really see the uniqueness in that.
Mm,
I don't know for some reason, but I'm I still think that I'm improving my skill, and then of course I'm not there yet. And I think we all of us think like that. But I think the greatest thing that I have heard along this journey was that your talent will never catch up with your taste. And I
mm,
think it's so true. And I think that's why it's so difficult for me to see the uniqueness in my work.
mm,
But I think the aesthetic definitely came from film photography,
mm,
even though I never, uh, I have never tried shooting film actually.
mm,
So I don't know how to do that, but I know that when I was putting together, for example, mood boards for my shoots, the photos there were 90% like film photos.
mm,
Uh, and I think that's how I naturally just trained my eye to see the colors when I'm editing and when I'm shooting. And I think that's part of the process. And also, I think I I love the film aesthetic for the colors. It's so bright. It's so like the colors are just so juicy, if I
yeah,
can describe them in that way. But I don't know. Yeah, I think lately also when I get asked the question of what inspires me,
yeah,
it's the colors. It's
mm.
not like something specific, but it's like the color combinations and how they match together and how they draw your eye somewhere. And I think that's what I've been kind of exploring through my work. Yeah.
Is there any practice or anything you've ever done in specific to see color in certain ways? Anything anyone else could implement to maybe challenge themselves to see color more? I know even so many photographers, especially portrait and wedding photographers, that are low key scared of sun and harsh light. And I know you're probably out here shooting at 2 p.m. with a flash in broad sunlight. Tell people a little bit about that. Why do you like doing that? What draws your eye to it? And anything you want to say, if you have any tips you want to drop anyone about playing with light and color more, I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, the reason that I'm shooting in harsh light is because in Norway you get like 3 days in a whole year of harsh sunlight. So that's the time when you really want to go out and make something. Um, that's basically the reason. Yeah, I found new love for the sun when I moved
Mm,
here because it's just so gloomy and so rainy most of the time.
mm.
That's the only actually con for this country. All of the other things are amazing.
But you could have
Um,
been a moody, dark and moody, brown and whimsical photographer, and instead it's this colorful, catch your eye, standout imagery, which is even more unique considering you live in Norway.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe I need to move to a sunnier place to make more art.
No,
Um,
maybe you'd get bored.
true, true. Maybe that's the magic in it.
Maybe you need the depression. You need the darkness.
I need the
My
darkness.
husband, he used to say that he loved living in Seattle and it fueled some of his art. And I was like, dude, I can't do this. I literally can't do it anymore. And I do miss it sometimes, actually. I do miss the gloomy, moody kind of aesthetic for shooting. But no, I do not miss living there. And I'm sure it's nothing compared to Norway. I mean, I have no idea, but it definitely rained what felt like at least half the year, which is just hard to live in.
I don't know. Here it's more than that.
You're like, it's worse. It's worse, summer.
It is. It really is. I'm, for example, planning my shoot, like the next shoot that I want to have with creative project next week. And for the next 10 days, the forecast is that it's going to rain.
So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna embrace the rain with your shoot? Are you gonna book a studio? What are you gonna do?
Uh, I think that I'm gonna actually embrace the weather. Yeah,
Mm,
that's what I've been doing. I don't know how, but somehow it always works out. And we can even like get a little bit of sunshine, like for 2 minutes maybe,
yeah.
uh, to take the hero shot. Um, but it's if it's not heavily raining, then you can make it work as well. I think with a little bit of the flash, pop, pop,
Yeah, I
pop.
was gonna wonder, are you gonna use flash in the rain? Would you then capture the raindrops though? Do you want that in the shots? Would that be cool or would that be, you know?
Actually, I had one shoot where it was a very weird day in terms of the weather because it was basically a snowstorm for like half an hour and then sunshine for another half an hour. And it
Mm,
was changing all the time. And so I got some photos of model and the snowstorm. And I
wow.
kind of really, really like that look
Yeah.
because there was these snowflakes everywhere and they were a little bit brightened up by flash. And she had these red tights and they
Mm.
stood up really nicely against like the green grass. And it was, I really like that photo.
That wasn't the one where there's this girl in it like fur coat. Do you know what I'm talking about? The
No.
white fur jacket, blonde. I think blonde. A lot of the
Yeah,
the
yeah,
people
yeah.
you shoot have blonde hair, but blonde hair, white fur coat. That I love those images you took. I don't know. I know you probably use them a lot too, but I love those. Those are so good. So that wasn't snow. That just happens to feel maybe wintry in my mind because of the white fur coat and the blue,
It
like blue
was
sky.
shot in the winter.
Okay.
So there was snow. It wasn't a snowstorm. But it
Mm.
was a pretty cloudy day, actually. There wasn't a lot of sun.
How do you feel? What are your thoughts on using Flash? You love using Flash, I know this, but do you prefer using Flash when it's sunny or when it's like gloomy and rainy and snowstormy?
Both.
She
Every
says all
time.
the time, anytime, all
Yeah.
the time. Do you actually ever shoot without Flash? I don't know if I know this about you.
I actually, lately, I've been leaning more into that more and more.
Hmm.
And it's not that I'm completely neglecting Flash and going away from it. I still love the look. But I think because I am becoming a little bit more like known along photographers
Mhm.
society, it's natural also for me to receive then questions that, oh, I don't have a flash, so I can
Mm-hmm.
make like great photos, or I can't afford that flash. And I'm like, but you don't need a flash. And then I
Yeah.
almost want to prove to me and to other people that that's okay. Like, you can use a $20 reflector and you pretty much get the same effect,
Mm.
if not better. So yeah, I've been leaning into that more and more, and I think some of my recent posts actually don't have a lot of flash in them at all,
Mm. I need to
which is
go stalk
interesting
you.
because people don't notice that.
Yeah, I need to go stalk that and see because I'm
Yeah.
curious too. I think there's not many photographers where a majority of their work is shot on flash, outdoor, in dynamic lighting. You know, there's obviously studio photographers, obviously they're using different setups and strobes and all sorts of things, but yeah, I think that is one thing that really separates you from a lot of people. And is it normally just one flash? Do you ever have multiple flashes? Is there any specific setup you love?
If it's on location, it's probably one flash, just because at the moment, I can really produce a shoot where I would set up, multiple flashes and have
Mhm.
control over all of them. And, yeah, that's just impractical,
And
in
also
my
why?
opinion.
If you can
Yeah,
do it
and
with one
also, why
flash,
would you do
why?
that?
Yeah.
And technically, you have two lights if it's sunny day, because
Mm,
you
yeah.
have the continuous light and the flash, so that's perfect.
There we go. The continuous
You
light
know?
being the sun for anyone listening that might not understand.
Yes.
Yes. That is so good. Man, I also want to talk about really quickly because I know we mentioned that you had a class in summer school and we didn't tell anyone what it was about. Her class in summer school is on cropping, and I personally love it. I think it's really cool. It kind of challenged me to be like, okay, how could I elevate my images even further? I do crop, of course, but the cropping examples you gave were pretty freaking sick. Tell us about cropping. I would love for you to tell a little bit of everyone listening your thoughts on cropping and why you like cropping because truly the class is really good. You can go ahead and join summer school the membership right now if you want to. The link is in the show notes and watch her full like workshop class on cropping. But tell everyone really quickly why you like cropping. How do you feel like it plays into the effect and mood of imagery and fashion photography? I'd love to know what made you enjoy, a lot of people are like, why not just take I bet you get comments on Instagram videos all the time where it's like, "No, why don't you just take the photo better?" Or "Why don't you just, like, step closer?" Or who knows? Maybe you don't get haters ever, but I could totally see that happening. What are your thoughts on cropping? Why do you love it? I'd love to know.
Actually, I don't have a lot of haters. I have a
That's
very
so
nice
good.
community.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm so happy about that. But to answer your question, I think, well, I think I really started to think about this when I studied work of other fashion photographers a bit more, because I have noticed that they don't leave extra space if it doesn't tell any kind of story.
Mm,
And of course, at first I thought that's just how the photo is taken and you can really do nothing about it. And I'm actually like striving for that feeling to come to me as well naturally, where I frame the shot exactly how I want it to be and I don't crop it and everything's really good and perfect. But we don't get this opportunity a lot
yeah.
as photographers, and especially if you're shooting weddings. Like, I know how it is.
Yeah.
um, sometimes you're just clicking away and hoping for the best.
But being able
And
to crop in on something intentionally and well. I mean, you transformed
yeah,
your images in that class. I thought they were so freaking cool. And I think some people would have just left them how they were. So I do
yeah,
think cropping is like an art, in that sense.
yeah. And I think it really has to do with what I've heard people call visual literacy.
Mm.
And it's kind of like the understanding of what looks good and why, and what doesn't look good and why. And you can't really like explain it logically,
Mm.
but when you see a lot of great photographers work, it's almost subconsciously goes into your mind, and you don't even question like why you crop your photos the way you crop.
Mm.
It's just something that feels natural.
No, I think that's beautiful, like, almost like the philosophy of cropping because
Yeah.
it kinda tastes just in general and how taste can affect your work. Sometimes me and Jake literally talk about that of, like, can you almost retrain your own taste and mindset to almost change not to almost, but to change the way that you end up creating your art as well. So it's very interesting. I feel like that is late night thoughts with Summer and Jake, just
Yeah.
chatting about things that don't technically matter. But I mean, taste changes so much of the art you produce, what you're consuming, what you like consuming, like just kind of, it almost feels as though it's how you're born, like what you were born to like, you know? What I don't know,
That's true,
man.
but also that's why the phrase "your talent will never catch up with your taste"
That's so
is
true.
really accurate, because as you grow your skill, your taste also grows
Changes, yeah.
and changes. Yeah, and that's why you will never catch up to it. And that's, I think, that's the thing that makes you better as a photographer as well. And I think that's why, because it's also like so important for photographers, not only, I'm not an advocate for going out every day and taking photo of a flower. I don't
Yeah.
think that that's going to necessarily improve your taste. But I think, for example, watching a great film with analytical perspective,
Mhm.
or you know like going to art museum, or just going out and seeing how like specific tree fits into like the whole landscape, and why
Mhm.
why does it work. Like, I think asking yourself questions, um I really like to do this. When I see a photo of someone and I like it, I ask myself, why do I like it? And if I see a photo of someone that I don't like, I just ask what I don't like about this photo. And I
Yeah.
think it's just unconsciously training your taste and aesthetic as well.
Yeah. No, and I think you can definitely train it. Even, man, practical tip I did during location scouting once was I went out location scouting for an engagement session and I actually had just bought the like meta glasses and they play music. If you have
Oh,
never tried them on, they not only take photos and record videos, but you can call. I now barely I thought I'd use them for content and literally it's just me calling my mom while I push Georgia in a stroller because I'm like, "Oh, it's hands-free. I can just talk to her through the glasses." But anyways, I did try to use them for location scouting once because basically I could see something and take a photo of it, not just in my mind, like literally take a photo of it, what my eyes were seeing, which I was like, this is genius. I don't know why people aren't location scouting with them more. But one step further, I played music that for me made me feel things. And walking around, listening to music, just observing this area, I don't know, it inspired me so much more with the things I was seeing. I don't know if I would have saw had I not also had, like, the audio effect of, like, putting myself in this, I don't know,
maybe
space?
it's because you were so mindful in that
Yeah.
moment, and you were
Yeah, I
just like
don't
in the
know.
moment.
Well, and I think music can do a lot for you too. I was a part of a workshop once where this person, Jennifer Moore, go check her out. Her work is so good. She told everyone to close your eyes and she was going to play like 3 different tracks that she felt were, say, cinematic, maybe in different ways. Maybe one was happy, one was EDM, maybe one was, your classic when you think cinematic, like moody. And she told us to try to visualize. So to get into this intentional place, try to visualize a shoot. And she was going to play 3 different songs. And then literally ideas were just birthing out of nowhere. Like you close your eyes, you hear this thing, and I was like, okay, I see a couple in San Francisco. I see them on a swing. Like it was crazy. These concepts were just coming based off of literally closing your eyes, almost meditating and listening to this music with the intention of thinking, if this were a shoot, what would it be? How fun is that? So I think location scouting, because of the music that I was playing, I was literally seeing things. And yeah, I don't know, it sounds so elaborate, really not that deep, but I don't even remember what brought me to this rabbit trail. But basically, taste and music and how you can evolve your taste, I do think you can set up intentional moments to help yourself see things maybe naturally, your natural eye to what you're drawn to. Like when you're at a desk scrolling your phone, you might not think on Pinterest, I like this photo, but training yourself even in your everyday life to notice things, notice light, notice the framing of the tree, like you said. I think, yeah, play some music, put in some headphones, go on a walk. Like you don't have to scroll
Exactly.
Pinterest. So good.
But
Have
at
you
the same
ever
time, oh,
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Mine was
I
gonna be
just
a
wanted to
different.
mention like one thing that I thought of as well. I think if you do scroll the Pinterest and you find the one photo that really inspires you and you want to recreate it, like give it your all. Analyze like
Yes.
what kind of light is there, what kind of clothes is the model wearing, or like the couple is wearing. Where are they? Are they mountains in the background? Is there a sea? And I think if you put all of these things together in your photo, you would also get this understanding that, like, to make something that you imagine, you actually need to have all of these elements, because I think a lot of the times people don't want to put in the effort to organize the shoot, but they want
Mhm.
like the same results. And I think just give it your all and plan it out and do it. And I recently heard one photographer as well on TikTok talking about this feeling when you have like the whole team, the hairstylist, the makeup artist, the stylist, and you have this model in front of you who's dressed and ready, and you only need to take a photo, but you take a moment and you love that what you see in front of you so much that it's hard to take a bad photo of it.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
think like that's the feeling that we should all strive for in our photo shoots.
That's almost why some people probably don't like styled shoots in weddings. It's almost too perfect, or why people might even go as far to say that luxury weddings are easier to shoot, which I'm not saying they are at all. I think they're hard in so many other ways, but they're so beautiful. It's like, how do you take a bad image? You might not even know how to take an image. This thing is so pretty, it's gonna look
Yeah.
good? So yeah, like you said, put in the work to set up an insane test shoot or an insane, for wedding photographer, styled shoot, or whatever word you want to call them, because then how are you not going to be inspired to take good photos? It's literally going to be perfect.
Exactly.
When you're setting up a lot of your test shoots and shoots for yourself and for your own creativity and, passion projects, things like that, or doing test shoots with other people, what does that process kind of look like? I don't want you to dive into it too deep because I think this would be a perfect thing to talk about in Recess, our exclusive podcast for summer school members. But I do want you to tell us just what that process kind of looks like. What is a test shoot for people listening that might not know anything about the fashion editorial photography scene?
Okay, I will try to keep it short.
Yes.
um, but in my opinion, test shoot is not only a term that might be applicable for fashion photography, it is also for any kind of photography. Even if you're a couples photographer, I think you should do some test shoots from time to time, because it is basically a shoot that you organize yourself, and you have and you can basically test out and like your gear, test out maybe different lighting, bring, like do anything that you want to do. Like you got your specific idea, for example, you want photos of couple who rides bikes together. And then you get the couple, you style them. You basically say to them, okay, please wear these kind of clothes, uh, come to this location, and you take photos because you wanted to have like these kind of photos on your portfolio. And you basically organize it yourself. You don't wait for clients to come to you for that. And then and then you get the photos, and then you wait for the clients to come and ask you for these specific photos.
Mhm. No, 100%. And in your world, you're not only collaborating with a model or for what people might say couple, but you're collaborating with hair and makeup, maybe with stylists too, maybe? And what all are you collaborating with these days in your world? Like average test shoot, how much of it are you doing versus how many people are you pulling in? And I know it's probably different for every project, but I'd love to know that as well.
I've been trying to work more and more with stylists, but
Mhm.
where I live, there are no stylists available. So that's usually when I travel somewhere, I work with a
Mm.
stylist and a full team. But here, most of the time, it's actually just me and the model.
It's even more
And
impressive.
yeah, sometimes I do, like, I try to do the styling where I actually go to the stores and I pick out the clothes, and then, I do a cheeky little shoot and then I return them.
Yeah,
um,
yes.
well, you gotta do what you gotta do. Um,
I've tried to
so yeah.
I think everyone can admit that they've done that before, at least a little bit. Even stylists, oh my gosh, I've heard so many stylists, it's like their full-time job to run into Nordstrom, get all these clothes, do a shoot with them, and return them the next day. I have a fear of returning things, Rita. I actually can't do it. If I ever have to return something, I have to send my husband because it even if I'm returning, say I bought, like, an air mattress and it was broken, I can't get myself to return it. I don't know what it is about me. It makes
Really?
me so uncomfortable to go to the store and have to, like, give it back to them. I mean, if gun to
But
my
maybe
head,
you
I would
need
do
to
it.
order things online. Then it's easier to
I
return.
could do that. I could return
Yeah.
Amazon things, but if it's something where I have to physically walk up to a desk and they're like, "Oh, what was wrong?" I'm like, I don't know." You know? I cannot do it. If it was like, yeah, Amazon stuff or, yeah, anything online, maybe that's the hack now, only online.
Yeah, I've done it online as well. And actually, like, you don't need a like good reason to return your clothes online because they
Yeah.
maybe it's just the wrong size that you ordered.
Yeah.
Um, but also, I was a little shy with this at the beginning, but then at some point, it's just, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried I had the plan to probably return at least the shoes from our summer camp, but unfortunately, even with taping them, they were too dirty. I couldn't do it. I was like, "This is wrong." So, actually, someone from summer camp ended up buying a pair of them because they loved them. So, it kinda worked out.
Oh,
It worked out in my favor. But, yeah, I'm not about to spend, like, $1,000 on a pair of shoes for one shoot, you know? So, yeah, but renting too. I've, like, rented stuff. I used to run you wouldn't know this, or maybe you would, depending on how long you were following me, Rita, but I used to run a vintage, like, resale store back in the day.
really? No, I
Yeah,
haven't followed you that long.
it wasn't too long ago, I guess, but it had a resurgence, so, I don't know, 4 years ago maybe? But, yeah, I started my photography career in college because I had the little Instagram, like, thrift clothes and sell them thing, and I once I made enough money to buy a camera, that was how I bought my first, like, pro camera, I had a Rebel, but that wasn't I don't know, and
Oh.
I had a Rebel first, and then I bought a Canon 6D with my thrift store vintage shop money, and then I tried to start it again, like, 4 or 5 years ago, and yeah, I was like, "This is a lot of work for me to make, like, $10. I just can't do this." And also then we moved to LA and we went from, like, 3 bedrooms to, like, 500 square feet, and I was like, "Okay, the clothes gotta go." I had a whole it was amazing as a photographer, I had a whole room with, like, 3 racks of clothes and, technically a business reason to own all of these. It was great. You could do it. If you were, like, buying clothes for all these shoots, you could literally end up having a little resale vintage shop or something.
Oh, my favorite thing is I don't know if that's legal actually, but I'm sure that the Norwegian government is not listening. But my favorite thing
Imagine.
is to, when I buy the clothes for the shoot with the intention of returning them, and then, I might shoot them, but then I also might like something for myself.
Mm,
And then
yeah.
I take them for myself, but then I put it as a business expense because
Yeah.
it has been photographed.
Yeah. I think that's
And I,
fair.
yeah, and I can use them on, a different shoot. So
You can use it on another shoot. It's part of your client styling wardrobe, and you just happen to wear it
exactly.
occasionally. I think that's totally fair. Anything I've bought for a styled shoot has been on the business account, and obviously, you know what? What's it supposed to do? Just sit in the closet and never be worn again? I don't know.
No, it
Yeah.
doesn't sound right. No.
No one report me to the IRS. I'm kidding. I have an accountant. We're fine. We're fine. He's making sure I'm legal, I hope. But man, Rita, this has been so fun. I'm actually going to ask you because I know we're going to dive into a lot of fun things in a second for recess. But I want to ask you, is there anything or any type of advice you would love to give everyone listening right now that you wished you had known when you got into photography? Because I feel like you've learned so much so quickly. And I love like absorbing people's content that I can tell are passionate about actually growing their skills as a photographer. So that's another reason I love following you. Anyway, everyone else go follow her. But I feel like you're actually passionate about not just, showcasing cool work, but you're passionate about constantly growing. And I know that you know a lot of things about photography. So, anyways, what would you say is one thing you wished you had known when you started photography for everyone listening?
I'm not gonna lie, I actually thought about this today.
You were like, what if
But
Summer asked me this?
yes, yes. So I thought
Yes.
about this. And I think the most valuable advice I would love to hear from someone when I started is that I think two things. Can I say two things?
Oh, you could say 5 things. I'm sure no one would be
Okay.
mad.
So the first thing would be, when you're really just starting, post your work, but don't expect and don't focus on social media growth. I think
Mm,
you have to put in the work in the craft itself before you start focusing on how you can grow it and show it to a wider audience.
mhm.
I think that's the first thing. That's the mistake that I made. And of course, I wasn't getting a lot of views and a lot of attention, like, to my photography at the beginning. And now I look at it and I'm like, that's normal. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, why
Mhm.
why did I expect that I was gonna just, magically grow in like 3 years, 3 months time?
Yeah.
Um, so that's the first thing. And I think the second kind of mistake that I made, and that I wish I have known, is that it's the reality of photography business, of course, depending on where you're based and what kind of photography you're pursuing. But I would say that generally it doesn't happen so fast. And
Mm.
I think that I made the mistake of assuming that I'm going to become, a super well known photographer in Norway in like 2, 3 months. It didn't happen.
But
And
still your journey has been, in my opinion, very, very fast and incredible to watch from the States. Obviously, I haven't been following you since you first started, but I think there's plenty of people that would dream to become Rita by 26, you know?
yeah, well, it's relatively short. So I wouldn't say that it's not possible. But I would just, like, the thing that I want people to know, that it's okay to, do photography as a side thing. It's okay to
Mhm.
have your full time job and do this on the weekends, or have a part time job and do this on the side. Because I honestly made the mistake of just going in and burning through all of my savings, like doing random test shoots and going to locations and everything. And then I was so stressed out about the financial aspect of things, that
Mm.
at some point I was so burnt out that I couldn't like do photography as much as I would love to. And so I think like do everything in order to keep your mental sanity, if that makes
Mm.
sense, because that's
Yeah.
what's going to fuel your creativity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so hard when you quit to go full time. I always say the privileged position people have when they have a job they actually enjoy and they're getting into photography is that you can go do a creative shoot, set up a test shoot, set up a styled shoot on the weekend, and you have all of your real big girl money to pull from, and you can just create because you like creating and you have so much freedom. And even in bookings that because you have a side income, you don't have to say yes to everything. You can genuinely
Yes.
only say yes to the things you actually want to do. Whereas when you are full time and kind of having to be scrappy, for most people, they're going to have to say yes to most things that come their way until they are just wildly successful. And while that can be good for some people, maybe you hate your job and you just really want to be full time, or like me, I'm not good at diversifying my energy. Like I have to be all in on something. So for me, I went full time, even if I only made $500. Like I was just like, I have to do this. If not, I know that I won't succeed because that's who I am. But man, if I had like a six-figure job I loved, that could have been a whole different story. When people come to me for mentoring and they have this job they really enjoy, I'm like, dude, don't stress right now. Literally go create the work of your dreams. You have this supplemental income that you enjoy doing. There's no rush. Just go create cool work and then, gradually work on it as you want to. And I think you'll see more success because you'll actually have work you enjoy and are proud of?
Yes. Oh, actually, the third thing as well.
Let's
I
go.
just remembered. Maybe we'll get to those five actually by the end of
Hey,
this
I'm here
podcast.
for it.
But the third thing would be, and you already mentioned that, but doing your creative shoots, like non-commercial photography shoots just for
Mhm.
you and just to develop your like the way you see photography and your skill set, because I think that people would probably be surprised to know that I do a lot of creative shoots, like even now, just, to explore this thing. I think you
Mhm.
really, because it's just natural, like you want to create something because you're so passionate about it. And I think
Yeah.
people forget about it along the way.
That's like the classic me and guest that I've had on the podcast recently, Josh Huggett. We were talking in DMs the other day about, so do you take photos of your child? And I'm like, oh, I really need to. He's like, so did you take a camera on your family vacation? I'm like, I actually did. And we were just both kind of ranting about the fact that even in our personal life as photographers, like, are we even documenting any of it? And man, I'm always reminded about that. But for me, it's gear. I need something that's not my professional setup to be inspired to shoot personally. I'm not about to take like a big lens and a big camera just out and about? Maybe you do. I do not.
Mm.
But for me, it's gear. I have to have some sort of small lens that forces me to want to be creative in like mundane moments. Do you know what I mean?
I use this.
Rita's like, my iPhone gets the job done. Dude, my iPhone, I'm horrible at my like cameras are always there's like sweat and stains on them. Me trying to make more
But
reels,
that's the
I'm constantly having
challenge.
to clean this thing. It is a lot of work, man.
But that could be a
Oh,
challenge for you, like in everyday life.
yeah, taking more photos on my iPhone. I've been trying to take
Yeah.
more just content in general, which has been fun. But yeah, I mean, we
Oh,
could
I've
dive into
really,
even some of your social media journey. We never even talked about that much.
yeah, I
Oh,
have really enjoyed like your low key reels recently. Actually, it's been
thank
so
you.
refreshing to see something um, kind of in the moment. and
Yeah.
not so much like, oh, here are 5 tips, blah, 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 blah. So
Yeah.
I think, for me, it's really nice. Thank you, Summer.
Oh, thank you. And for hopefully people that produce content like you, I like that it is easy. I think I just wasted so much time trying to come up with the perfect videos and figure out, oh, what am I going to talk about today? And instead, I've had to rewire my brain to, what am I doing today? What am I doing today that I could turn into a video? Like I have currently, so whenever this video airs, probably the reel will be coming out any day now. I currently am looking at a pile of gear on my floor, and I have film that I haven't taken and get developed in a really long time, which I never do. But the reason is because I didn't finish every roll at the end of the wedding. So I currently have 3 cameras that need to have their film finished, or else I would literally just sacrifice and burn money by taking them to the lab without finishing them. And so the reason I haven't gotten my film developed yet is because I want to shoot me in Georgia because we don't have that many photos together. So yeah, I was like, well, I might as well turn that into a video. Like that's been in the back of my brain was, why don't I just record that too? Like, guys, like this pile of cameras on the ground, like we have to finish these cameras. Let's go on a walk. And that's just, it can be that simple, and I don't know, it's been almost literally having to rewire how I think about the content to think, am I doing something today that someone would find interesting? You're probably doing things all the time that people would find interesting. Like, Rita, take me shopping.
I don't
You're
know.
like,
Well,
no.
I still struggle with this, but I think I have rewired my brain as well lately.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, sometimes it's just a matter of getting it out there.
Yeah.
So I have like a video that I'm going to post, and then I post it, and then I try not to think about it so much. And
Yeah.
if I don't have content, I just scroll a little bit and find a video and photos that might work together, some BTS
Yeah.
and final shots, and I put it together, and I try not to think about it so much, because at the end of the day, we're not content creators.
Yeah.
We're not full-time content creators. It's not our job to, come
Yeah.
up with these epic concepts and entertain
Well, some
everyone
people
and
are.
anyone.
There are
Well,
low-key some
yes.
people that are like more. I had someone ask me not that long ago, Summer, would you say that you're an educator or a content creator? And I was like, oh, I don't think I personally align with the word content creator. And I hope when people think of me, they think of me more as an educator than a content creator. But there are low-key, like, photography content creators, or what are those called? Influencers, yeah. Where it's like more of an influencer than a photographer.
Yeah,
And that's not everyone can be whatever, but
of course. Yeah.
I don't know. I think we all have that slight influencer in us if you have a social media presence, but I don't feel like I'm hip enough with pop culture to be a real influencer. I'm just outing myself. I'm like, I don't think I have that in me. But I have been trying to post over on summer school's Instagram podcast clips because I realized I was never marketing this is hilarious. I'm telling all of you listening to the podcast this, but this is how conversational the podcast goes. But anyways, all of this to say, I've been learning about some cool softwares. Maybe I can tell you about them, Rita, after this as well. But for anyone that creates videos or whatever, I've been learning about different softwares and new things I'm going to try. So I don't have all the answers for you, but for the podcast specifically, so this will probably be irrelevant to most photographers. But I got told about a software called Opus, and it clips it into things it would consider are cool moments or maybe viral takes or whatever, and then does all the captions itself. And I could put my brand colors in there and everything. So we can literally just submit a YouTube link and it'll auto generate 30 different 20 to 3 minute takes and put them as a reel. And I'm
Wow.
like, this is great. Zencaster, what I record my podcast in, tries to do that, and they're always horrible. But this one actually does pretty darn good. And then I'm going to try and implement maybe a scheduling software. But if you're listening to this, I've never technically pre-scheduled any of my personal Instagram's content because I just like it being in the moment. While yes, it's smart to post every day, I don't like scheduling my personal Instagram. I just
I
can't do
don't
it.
post any every day actually, and
I
I don't think that I'm gonna do it because
yeah,
it's also like this weird kind of pressure that you have. I do understand if you batch your
batch. Yeah.
content, right? And that's great, but I personally, as much as I would love to, I can't do that. I don't know why, but if I film and put together some videos for the future, when I'm about to post them, I don't like them anymore. I need to
Yeah.
do it like in the moment.
Yeah. No, I feel that. It's more of have 5 minutes on the toilet. Let me post a reel real quick. But that has been more of my flow these days a little bit with a baby. That's just kind of how life flows. I'm on a walk. Let me get something out. But I do like it better because it's in the moment. I like it in the moment, and then it doesn't matter if I don't like it in 2 weeks. It's already there.
Exactly, because the past summer did it, so you
It's good
don't have
enough.
control over her.
I guess if you really set up a scheduling software to where it posted for you, I guess you just have to not care. The video is going to go out whether you say so or not at, you know, the 12th on new at 2 p.m., So maybe it would feel similar if yeah,
I have
I have
heard
no
that
idea.
scheduling doesn't really work good with Instagram, though. I'm
That's
not
what I've
sure
heard
if
too,
that's a
but
myth or not.
maybe I'll try it on the summer school Instagram with the podcast and let you know because I want to post 1 to 2 videos a day of everything that's happening. So we'll
Wow.
see. We'll see. I have an assistant coming on, so it will not be all me, you
Okay.
guys. I'm not that.
Okay.
I don't have time for that. We have a child. Oh man, Rita, this has been so fun. We'll just keep ranting, but hopefully for all of you listening towards the end, all of the random things I just said that didn't even have to do with Rita, Opus, Zencaster. If you want to try later for planning, I don't know. Hopefully this helped you in some way if you have any plan on batching out some content. But this has been so fun. Me and Rita are about to dive into an exclusive version of the podcast called Recess. So if you want to hear real, not real, all of this was real as well. But if you want to
Not
hear
real.
even more tips and tricks from Rita, I'm going to be asking her some very specific, more like shotgun questions. So if you want to hear any of that, go ahead and hit subscribe to our community and join us. She also has a class in there and she's inside there. I'm not saying that she'll be available for all of your questions, but if you want to come hang out with me and Rita, I would be stoked to see you join us. And we are going to dive into Recess. But before we do that, if you enjoyed this episode and want to send it to a friend, please share it with a friend, put on your stories, and click subscribe or follow wherever you are, whether it's Spotify, YouTube. I would love for you to hear us every single week. So this has been so good. Thank you so much, Rita, and goodbye for now,
Thank
you
you.
guys.